What's going on, gamers? Pure Edge here. Basically, this video, I'm going to try to keep it short and sweet. I was going to actually release it 2, 3 days ago. I was going to make it, sorry, and then release it, but I figured I'll wait for the patch notes. Basically, I wrote down 20 issues I think the Evil Dead the game has. So I'll give you some background music anyway. I'll leave that on there. So I'm just going to quickly go over it, and then I'm going to quickly show you some of the patch notes. The patch notes I'll put in the description below to make sure you click on them. So these were the main issues. This is personal preference. Everyone might see it differently. Keep in mind, I play Demon and Survivor. I play both sides 50-50. I enjoy both different ways. So I see issues on, from both points of view. First issue I wrote down here is Collision. That's for Demon. When you do your Demon Dash, just moving around through the woods, everything, you get caught on a bunch of stuff, slows you down. Obviously, wasting time is never good. Number 2, vaulting mechanic. I think it's a bit silly that the demons creatures can't use the vaulting mechanic when you run into a Dead by Daylight player that wants to constantly vault in and out of windows. Doesn't happen often, but does happen. So obviously it means you're despawning and wasting blood orbs and time. There was an infinite health glitch, which has now been fixed, allowing players to drop infinite ammo, health, all sorts. That's been sorted. Number 4, I wrote down cheaters because I've ran into quite a few cheaters, and to be honest with you, because I ran into a couple cheaters, I think the anti-cheat needs a bit of a tweak. It is easy anti-cheat after all anyway, but I don't know why people are fucking hacking on a game that has so little people playing, at least before this patch. Latency and hit detection, which I believe has been looked at on the patch notes, which I'll look into, but basically what I meant by that was you swing someone, you hear the sound, they didn't even move, they didn't register any damage. That was an issue I had with it as well. Objective spawns, which we'll touch base on that in the patch notes because that has been semi-fixed. There's one other thing I want to add to that. Number 7 was instant resurrection because I felt like every time doesn't matter where a player is, they get resurrected if an objective is completed, which I find is a bit silly. Say if you're kill someone 400 meters away from the objective, but they complete that objective, that person gets rezzed. And it kind of defeats the purpose of the totems, like to actually like drop the soul off and stuff. I think if that player was 400 meters out, away from his team, not playing a team-oriented game, they would have to go collect a soul and obviously have that inconvenience. RNG of boxes and weapons. This is one thing I want to touch on. As Survivor, there's been times where I've spawned in front of a cabin, 2 purple boxes, and then a couple feet away, another blue, possibly a legendary weapon as well. Early game, it takes you quite a bit to level up the demon if you're just doing traps and things like that. Unless you catch a survivor off guard, get some downs, some damage in, you're not going to level up too quickly. So the fact that sometimes, well, within that specific game I'm speaking of, within a minute and a half, I had 6, 10, 12 levels it was, and a legendary weapon. That was 2 purple boxes. Walked up to the next area, legendary box, blue box, and had a weapon. So I think the RNG of where things spawn needs to be a little bit tweaked. No good boxes around the survivors as soon as they spawn, and if there is, maybe 1 or something like that for balancing. Number 9 is basically player-based. Before the patch, it took about 10 minutes to get to a survivor game because demons have given up, essentially, because of the issues with the infinite health, infinite ammo, all that stuff, plus cheaters was always annoying. But mainly the exploiters. I mean, why you're exploiting when you don't really need to if you have a good team. Next thing, number 10, 30-minute timer on the game. I think I've only won timer maybe once or twice. 30 minutes is way too long. I mean, you can find the first 3 pages, unless they've changed where those things have spawned. You can find the first 3 pages in, I found all 3 pages within 2 minutes. And then that gives you still 28 minutes to do 2 objectives. Yeah, you're supposed to scavenge and stuff, but even still, I think 30 minutes should probably be dropped down to 25 and see how people do. You might disagree, it's just my personal preference. Number 11, which has been fixed, AI not attacking. They would just be basically taunting you, just sitting around. There's times, especially Ash. Playing Ash, I got about 15 skellies on the screen, and they're just like, woo, yeah! And they're not even doing anything, which was annoying. That apparently has been fixed in this patch. No skill-based matchmaking. That is an issue to me because that means any new players that join, they could get matched up with a level 52 demon or whatever or anything, and they don't have a good chance. I mean, I know there's other modes they could kind of do and level up on and test out, but I think skill-based matchmaking is always good. I know the player base is a bit low at the moment, but we're not encouraging new players at this rate, if you mean. Blood orbs not being picked up. I put in brackets because sometimes as a demon I go through a blood orb and it doesn't collect the blood orbs for some reason, or it doesn't collect them all. It will just leave a little bit, like halfway of a blood orb untouched, even though I have fill bar to fill, which is another bug. Traps, buggy placement. Traps, for me, sometimes I could go up to a trap and have to hit a specific angle just to arm the trap. And there's been some traps that are embedded into the ground that I can't even arm, which is unfortunate because it's in the survivor's path. And I can't even use it. Number 15, which apparently has also been fixed in this update, is as soon as someone's max fear and get possessed, they're able to drop their weapon. So if they're a warrior, they'll drop their, legendary hammer, whatever, or if they're a hunter, they'll drop their gun as a strategy. So if they get taken over, you can't use that weapon on them and give them a taste of their own medicine, which is just silly and almost defeats the purpose of possession at that point. Apparently that's been fixed. We'll go through the patch notes in a minute. Number 16, minion skills. This is something that I don't think has been touched up on. They have fixed something to allow the minions, like your creatures, to use their abilities now, but my biggest issue is some of the abilities take forever, like taking your head off to throw it at them as Puppeteer, things like that. By the time you do any of that or certain abilities, you're already dead. So I want it quicker times on rocking those abilities, but now that the AI are going to be doing them, maybe it won't be such an issue. Number 17, sorry about that, my daughter just came in and asked me a question, is vehicles. Not sure if this was fixed on the patch notes or not. Basically, people were using the vehicles to block the book objective, block you in, all sorts of stuff like that. Number 18, I wrote down, is the meta. Right now, there's a pretty obvious meta. It's Henry, Army of Darkness, Ash, so you run 2 warriors, and then you either run Ed or Evil Dead 2 Ash as your hunter, and then Cheryl as your healer, which means the reason why I put down meta there is either they need to kind of change some of the attributes of those characters or improve other ones so they're more likely to be picked, because right now it's just a certain meta. You're always running into the same cast, essentially. Optimization, which I know they've touched up on, so hopefully that's been sorted, especially the Army of Darkness map, which had issues. Number 20, and this was I threw on there just for the sake of making it 20 issues I had with the game, is you get like 3k a win for a survivor and maybe 6k for a demon. I think for survivor wins and stuff like that, 3k is not a lot. Even 6k, I mean, you don't. I know you level up the character as you play them, but say if you just want to level up a character without playing them, it's going to take a lot of XP. So they should do a slight increase, not a lot, but just do a slight increase to make it less of a grind. All right. Anyway, now we're going to pull up the new content. All right, starting with new content, new survivors, me and David, new demon, Plaguebringer, new weapons, the syringe and nail gun, a new mission, and the missions can now be played in any order. So if you got stuck on one but you want to unlock Arthur, you could just go to Arthur's mission. Some updates with the cars, which is going to help us, and map selection for exploration mode. Balancing updates, I'm going to just scroll through some of these. Obviously, I will post them below for you all to read. AI, more aggressive. Instead of just taunting, they will do more attacking. Increased possibility of AI also performing special attacks. Necromancer can't spawn a second Fluidus while the first one's up. Fair play on that one. I agree with that. More Infernal Energy on the caravans and cabin map because there wasn't too much compared to the Army of Darkness, which I agree. The minimum distance between objectives has increased to avoid them spawning very close by, which is also awesome. After an objective, the demon gets expelled closer to the next objective, which is perfect because this means if you're fighting, they start both objectives at once, which I still think is a bit silly that you're able to do. But instead of being expelled completely across the map, you'll be able to spawn closer, which is going to be good, get you back into the fight. Reduce the rarity of hidden weapons, which is great because constant legendary weapons. Reduce the number of hidden weapons on the Army of Darkness map because there's quite a few. And they also reduce the Shemps and amulet spawn on the Castle Kendar map. Increase the books health by 5%, which I think is fair. Reduce the amount of cars spawned in the world. Decrease the max amount of Shemps and Cola taken by Mini Ash's trap, which is fair enough. There's a lot of general ones here, like the players can't duplicate anything anymore. Let's see. Demon upgrades apply correctly to every unit skill. Previously, they weren't being applied correctly, which was obviously a little bit of a game breaker there. You can no longer drop the weapon and open the map during the possession animation, so you can't just throw your weapon on the floor. There's tons of good stuff here, guys. if you left the game for about 2 months like I did, this is the time to go back, give it another chance. Go through the patch notes. There's a lot there. Within the stuff that I mentioned in this, there's a lot of fixes they've already done. I mean, I respect these guys because they did World War Z, and they did tons of updates, tons of quality changes, quality of life changes, plus content updates as well. This is a bit harder. This is a PvP kind of game, whereas that did have PvP, but it really kind of was basically PvE. This is a game that I don't believe will ever be fully balanced. I think, they'll do a balance which will benefit a demon, and then balance the survivor, which will benefit survivor more. There's just too many entities in this game to get a perfect balance. I just don't think it's possible, and this isn't because I don't believe in Saber. I just believe there's a lot of little things in this game. It would be such a hard thing to do that kind of precise, perfect balance. But we'll see how they do. But if you did put the game aside for like 2 months like I did, now's the time to come back, get into the update. If you want to know, obviously, Demon's free for everyone. Survivors you have to pay for. Everything else, I believe, is within just the free content update of it all. But if you have the season pass, then you'll get things like I think extra, like the 2 survivors. I think they might have like the extra skin and stuff included within that as well. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below, what you guys think of the new update. Anything I missed that could have been more issues I could have put on this. I want to know your guys' feedback on this. And yeah, I'm going to put my Twitch stuff in the below, so feel free to come watch me live. If you see me live and you want to join us, just drop me a message in the chat there. I'm more than likely going to be able to invite you if we don't have a full team, and it'd be great to have more people to play with. But hopefully this video was sort of short and I covered everything that needed to be covered. But yeah, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. And till next time, happy gaming, and I'll see you on the next one.